No, you're fine.
No. Okay, this is a Board of Equalization hearing for Victor L. Jacobson, scheduled at 3 o'clock, June 28th. Parcel RPA 415-300-90080. Mr. and Mrs. Jacobson?
Yes,
Okay. Have you been to a Board of Equalization prior to this?
I'm not.
Okay. What we'll do is we'll begin by swearing you in, and
Okay.
along with everybody who's going to give testimony. And then we'll have you present why you're appealing and why you think they are in error.
Okay,
And then we'll have the assessor's office give us their justification.
Okay.
We've kind of done that both different ways. Which way would you prefer?
That works great.
Okay. And then you'll have a chance to question any of that. At the end of that, we'll make a determination whether we can say that they erred. You know, everybody's concerned about what it does with the property taxes, and we sympathize
Right.
with that because I've got properties too. But what this is about is trying to find the market value for the property, which is required by statute.
okay.
So, whether the four of you raise your right hand. Do each of you solemnly swear that you'll tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We do that because this is what they call a quasi-judicial hearing. We
Okay.
can't take evidence outside of the hearing, but we'll make a decision on what's based here, or what we receive. If there's additional things that you discover, that either side, if you appeal, if you disagree with that, you can appeal to the state. And we'll send you our decision out with the instructions how to do that. You have to do that within 28 days. And they'll have a hearing here similar to this one, but then they'll use this transcript. But it's also what they call a de novo, which means a new trial also. So you can add any additional new information if you felt like,
Okay,
man, I wish I would have brought that in. So, okay, so you own a property at 3449 Nathan Drive,
Yes,
and the assessed value total was, I don't have the total with the land.
it's 546,778,
Okay, and you think the value should be 480,000?
around that, yes. And I have a list of papers, maybe you, I only got one copy, but that is yours, and Roxanne, maybe you can share this with us. Do you want me to present my case then?
Could you make us some copies, because I think everybody will want to see those, and you'll want. Yeah, can you just pause for a minute?
That first sheet is a double-sided, by the way, so.
Okay. Because that'll be part of the record.
Okay,
that we make. Nathan Drive, that's in Stonebrook.
Yep.
yes, it is.
Which end is Stonebrook?
It's right near Sunnyside,
Okay, close in.
yes.
My daughter and son-in-law live down off Leesburg.
Oh,
That's where
okay,
we
yeah.
always go down to
It's
get
on the
that.
southways.
That'll be easier. Put the stuff you've got it outlined, just follow through.
No, I also have copies of the land that you're basing your assessment on. I didn't make copies for you, I assume you have that information, so I didn't
We'll
worry
have
about
to
it.
talk about land, because it's kind of assessed uniformly. See what they do with, what they're required to do is mass appraisal.
Yes,
So it's not like we take this lot and put a value on it, that we take
Right.
that lot and do it per square foot, and then
Right.
it depends on the size.
I understand. Roxanne was good enough to give us a list and probably representative of what you used, so
Okay.
I went through and looked at those and had some comments on that.
Why don't you start with the land where we don't have that, because that'll be, kinda the
Okay,
easiest.
basically, what you don't, first of all, just what I did is just a kind of a rationale test. When I got my assessment, I said, okay, I don't mind paying my fair share, but I can't see that I should be assessed more than everybody else's taxes raise. I think it ought to be a uniform raising of taxes if you're basing it on property value and everybody's property value is going up. So I looked at my assessment notice, and I noticed that my home value in 2021 is $354,000. In 2022, it jacked it up to $546,000, almost $546,800. So that's an increase of almost $193,000. That's a 55% increase in the value of my home in 1 year, though I did nothing to that home to increase the value. The taxes, based on the county assessed, I went to your website and looked at what my tax increase would be. The taxes for 2021 were $3,430. 2022, based on this assessment, is $4,737. That's an increase of $1,307, or a 38% increase in my taxes for 1 year. And I'm looking at well, and I have down at what I think the proper assessment ought to be $480,000. That would still be an increase of $557, or a 16% increase, which sounds high, but it's at least a little more reasonable than almost 40%. The Bonneville County monthly home sale statistics show that the median price for homes between January and September of 2021 to 2022 increased by an average of $102,500. My property rose by $193,000, almost double what the average was for the average home in Bonneville County. And then I look at the list of homes that Roxanne was good enough to give me as a representative of the basis for their assessment. And right off, I see at least one problem that probably shouldn't even be on here. Is a home out in on 2259 Oakmont. That home was the only one on the list that's valued more than my home. And I was interested why, and it's quite a lot more. I went out and looked at it. It's on a golf course, and it has a walkout basement, a daylight basement, with the backyard that goes out onto the golf course. So I said, and it's got a garage that's 200 square feet bigger than mine, a huge garage, and you don't consider the garage in your estimate. Also, the land value was actually less than my land value, even though it's bigger. So all those things, what it does is drives the price per square foot of my property up compared to theirs. So I said that shouldn't even be compared, because if you wanted to compare it, then you should consider maybe half the daylight basement as upstairs square footage. And if you did that, that would drive the price down to less than $200 a square foot, which is less than mine. So that seemed to me to be a reasonable approach. Of the remaining 16 homes, do you want me to go on, or do you want to wait and get the list? I have all this written down for you.
Yeah, we'll be able to review that.
Okay, that'll be fine.
My list is much smaller, so actually,
Yeah, I think you'll need to be prepared to address each one of his.
Okay. Of the remaining 16 homes, the Jacobsen house is the most expensive on the list. The average home value is $480,000, which what I think is about ours. The Jacobsen home value is $547,000. So that's over $70,000 more expensive my home is than any other home on the list. Every home on the list but one is newer than my house. the average age of the house that's newer is 10 years newer. Every home compared to mine is smaller, by an average of about 300 square feet smaller, up to
She's bringing more copies for theirs, you guys.
up to 473 square feet smaller than my house. And that, you may not think that's significant, but it is significant because these homes basically are in a high-class neighborhood that are smaller homes, and they're priced more per square foot for the smaller home. I summarize this at the end. Every house but 12 have larger garages. And the garage size doesn't count into the price per square foot, but it certainly does in the value of the home. Every lot but one is valued less than the Jacobsen home, even though 5 are larger and 2 are significantly larger, more than double the size of my lot. On the Jacobsen home valuation list, the average homes, on the homes that I compare to it, that I think are more reasonable because they're a bit close to the same age and they're close to the same square footage. The average home sale price on my list that I have is $476,682. It's not that far from what you compared. I say that my home value was valued at $480,000, what I estimate. The county assessor estimated $546,000, almost $547,000. The average year built of the homes in my list that I put to compare the homes is 1993. My home was built in 1991. The county average is 2001, over 10 years newer than my home. The average square footage on the list that I got compared is 1,835 square feet. My home is 1,892. The average for the county list is 1,600, almost 300 square feet smaller. The garage size on the list, on my list, appears to be comparable to my home. The county garage size is up to 424 square feet larger. So basically you're taking a smaller home, but larger garages and larger lots and comparing them to mine. The average price per square foot, including land, and you took out the land value in your list, but I couldn't do that because I didn't know what the land value was. So I had to count that. The average square foot, including land, is, or price per square foot, is $258.84 a square foot. On the list that I made, the county value per square foot is $289 a square foot. So the Jacobsen home value based on the proper assessment that I say, if you use the same price per square foot, would be $489,725, or these homes are slightly newer and slightly smaller, so I say 480,000 is still a good estimate. So in summary, when the county assessed the Jacobsen home, they used homes that are about the same price range and market value as the Jacobsen homes. They're 10 years newer. They're 300 square feet smaller with garages, with larger garages and large lots. This unfairly inflates the dollars per square foot value of the Jacobsen home by more than $30 a square foot. But what it does demonstrate that there is a market for houses about $480,000, which is what I say my house is. And that's basically it. I guess I was interested in the county list too, that I noticed that if you have a range of homes of, say, within 10 years of when mine is built, that's fine, but I would think it'd be plus or minus 10 years and not just plus 10 years, which is what it was. So I'm open to any questions that you have now.
Okay, you want to go through and kind of hit the highlights of how you would defend?
Yeah, I would say one thing to consider is that your value wasn't based on these specific homes that Roxanne has sent you with. Generally, when people come in, we quickly try to go through and try to find some comparable sales. But when we're actually setting value, we're not looking at your home in comparison to these specific, 15 homes or however many there may be here.
Okay.
We factor in every sale when we're determining, and ultimately they're coming up with we're coming up with $1 per square foot based on your quality of condition, the condition of your quality of your home, your condition of your home. So I understand your concern, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware that we weren't
I understood.
specifically.
And I thought that's what it was, but I think that, like I said at the very first, I think this list is representative of what you've used. Should be anyway, right? Or she
Yeah.
wouldn't have given it to me. Okay.
It is, and obviously Roxanne will present some more, so going through, it's challenging when we go by sell price alone, and that's why we've broken it down into $1 per square foot. Obviously, none of these homes are gonna be the exact same home as yours. That's
I
why we've
understand.
gone by $1 per square
But-
foot.
And when we comprise that list, we do it very quickly, just trying to get something together, so.
Yeah, there may be some on here that are less similar to yours than what ultimately, again, when we have a homeowner in the office, we run through these as quickly as we can, especially in a year like this, we had a number of appeals each day. So you're probably right in that some of these homes may not be as comparable, and they may not have, maybe they shouldn't be used in comparison. What I'm saying is they weren't, just because they're on this list doesn't mean that they were used in comparison to your home.
Okay.
But as you said, quickly, it does give you an indication of kind of what the value is. Even looking at this, again, there is a wide array of homes here, the average of $261 a square foot. And of course, in the time that Roxanne's had in between speaking with you when you came in this hearing today, she's been able to condense that list to some more comparable homes.
Okay.
There's this, I have gathered. I have those down. Waiting for them to look at it a minute.
Okay.
So Stone Brook was up for review this year. The only change I actually made when I done his home, other than what the market did, was I changed his sprinkler size from medium to a small. Everything else was market driven that was changed on a home. I did drive some different sales maybe than what was given that day, and we put that quickly together. So his average per square foot is $250, and I've gathered some sales that one is on Stone Brook, which is Stone Run, excuse me, that's in Stone Brook. That's $252 a square foot. I do have some varying years on here of like homes and comparable homes. The home is very well taken care of, and it is currently sitting in an average condition. The home probably should be in a good, if I was to look at it now after speaking with him and him coming in and me seeing, closer to what was going on, it should be in a good, and it's sitting in an average condition.
Good is better than average or
Yes,
below?
it would make the price even higher.
Generally, with our condition factor, average would be it's in need of repair, good would be a well-maintained home. Obviously, it's maybe showing signs of wear and gonna need repair soon, but average would be not tremendously well maintained. You know, it's in need of new flooring, new paint, in need of repair. Below average would be fair, and that's essentially one step above condemned. So,
Well, but that's not the case right now. I mean, that's not part of the argument, as near as I can tell. And they have a list of, 4 or 5 homes, and I have also a list of 6 homes that are, I say, just as comparable, if not more comparable, because you're closer to the same year. And even one of the homes on their list from that they gave me was in Stonebrook, built in 2002, and the price per square foot on it was $219 a square foot.
I was just trying to put sales on it was at and below and above.
Okay, so all I'm saying is that it looks like you, again, picked a list that I don't think is any better than my list. And my list is built closer to the same year and closer to the same square footage and homes that are comparable. You know, these homes are just as comparable as the ones you have on your list.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes.
As a thought just came to my mind that I don't know the answer to. Are you finding that in this year of home values kind of exploding, right, in the last year and a half, 2 years, are you finding that there's a bigger variable between homes? Kind of like, you know, if somebody really wants one in this market, it's getting overinflated, or rather if one is sitting, you know, it's a little bit under. Are you seeing a bigger spread in sales?
certainly from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, we have. But yeah, I mean, what somebody would pay for it is.
I have an example I'd like to show you. They compared this one to my home right here. This is a home that's got a low flat roof. It's got a 2-car garage with a wood door.
That was where we had.
It's over in Hardert. It's not a bad neighborhood, but the home is not anywhere near what my home is. But yet the price per square foot is way out of, I mean, and somebody just, I drove by and I said, I cannot believe somebody would pay that much money for it.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. If it was
And
going on.
that's what I think you're seeing, and that's maybe, they picked some of those homes like that. But I've also picked homes that I think were just more reasonable, especially when you look at the average price per home is $100,000 increase, but mine's almost a $200,000 increase in 1 year
Where did you mention
versus
that
everybody else.
you got that median increase? What was your source on that? Did you say? You said that on average.
That was the list that you had. Let me see. I need that. It's the Bonneville County Monthly Statistics.
Yeah,
This list right here.
that's not a list from our, I mean, we provided that, but it's not a list that we curated in our office.
Okay, and that's fine. But it should be, I guess,
It's from the MLS, but it's not from.
is it an accurate list or is it not?
Is that sales or is it?
It's Bonneville Monthly Statistics, yeah, and I looked at the month and I took the delta between the years, the difference between the years, and then I compared the average and it was about $100,000. Yet my house, it increased over about $200,000.
Yeah, and it is tricky because we're not looking, when we're setting the market, we're not saying, we see that the market has increased 50%, so we need to increase every value by 50%. We're actually looking at what each individual market is for each quality of home, each size of home. So yes, some certainly increased more than others. Ultimately, we're just trying to arrive at that market value.
Okay, I can
When I
understand
gave you
that.
that list, I did explain that was something that another outside of our office had put together. It was just an example for you to have in that.
Because we sympathize with the taxes and everything,
Sure.
you know, just very quickly, we don't get into much discussion on taxes. Yeah, if the value does go up over the average, there are some categories of properties that go down.
Right.
And so that it causes a shift, so yours are going to increase, and maybe because of the value, commercial doesn't increase as much. So there's, it kind of shifts onto the home, and we've seen that over the last few years. But in the end, what we're looking for is the market value. Would your house reasonably have a chance of selling for what they have it appraised for?
Right, and that's why I think that the list I have put together for the home values that are sold is basically as valid as their list. And I've got 6 homes that are they look just like mine. Basically, some are a little cheaper looking, but it's all the ones she had on her list that, in Harvard.
Yeah, do you have like a spreadsheet or a layout? Like I see each individual one, but do you have the average dollar per square foot for these homes? And is it based on fully finished?
Yes, I do that. You should have that spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's the first one.
It's this one. He's got them. On the blog.
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet right here.
Okay, so your average square foot is $258.
Right, but this includes the land value. I couldn't break out the land. The average price per square foot that the county, if you consider, don't take out the land value, is $290 per square foot. Well, I got it right there at the top, $289. So these averages are not including my home. So I've got 6 homes listed here that are within 100 square feet of mine. And the price per square foot is at least $30 a square foot less than mine.
I do notice that on 2 of these, they're 2022 sales, and we're not able to use 2022 sales.
I understand that, but 2022, those are homes that I had. And these homes, the price of homes has not gone down as far as I know. So they're still representative of my house.
Familiar with Galloway Circle, it's probably a similar neighborhood.
Sure.
State tiebreaker is Juniper Hills, and that's the golf course.
Yes, those 2 of those fairway estates, I think, is out by the golf course, which
Yeah.
would drive the price up too, I would think.
Glen Eagles is the other one out there. Irwin Court. Where's that? Oh, that's Ivan's Acres.
Yes,
That's probably a similar type neighborhood, although a little newer than Stonebrook.
Road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No Run. Newman is an older neighborhood. Quite a bit older, probably not as nice at homes.
Right.
In general.
but again, that compares to that. You saw the home that I showed you over in.
And I'm just, familiar with these neighborhoods. I would consider the neighborhood that tennis court circle is similar to Stonebrook.
Okay.
That's out by Tiebreaker, kind of an older neighborhood.
Yeah.
But the question about the construction.
I would say the construction based on the homes that I see is comparable to what my home is and probably the homes that you're comparing. Maybe not quite as fancy as some of them. It's like the ones I had in Stonebrook referred. But these homes, if you see, are pretty comparable. And I see on this list that I got that I had to compare with, I don't see that those homes are any better constructed than mine or worse. Well, some of them are worse by quite a lot. They're still charging a lot. I guess this one house that I showed you, the sheet I passed around, was built in 1964. Sold for $450,000.
Which street is that?
That's this house I showed you on Harvard.
Oh.
And that's an old, what's that? Yeah, it's just across from top.
And see, that's what makes it difficult right now, is because, like Commissioner Reed pointed out, you have people coming in
Yeah, that's what I
that
say.
just pay a ridiculous price, and unfortunately, that sets the market.
Well, it set it for if you choose that home. I didn't choose it because it's not even close to the age of my house.
No, but I mean in general.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Our kids, our grandkids just bought a home that I can't believe they paid that much for, but they did, and we're happy with it, so.
And I had concerns about my own property, so I called them. And they said,
Yeah.
okay, here's what the average is, and I know that's what's happening in the market, so I had to buy my down.
But I agree, but again, if you just look at this, just a sensible test or a test to check to see if it's even reasonable, is like I showed you at the very first. The average home values have gone up around $100,000. Mine's double that. Why? My taxes have gone up. I don't mind paying my fair share, but I'm paying another $1,000 in taxes this year over last year.
That way,
And to me, that doesn't seem reasonable. If everybody's paying that, well, fine, but I don't think there will be.
and taxes are partly budget driven, by the different entities. If you look at your tax notice, you'll see the amount you pay for City of Idaho Falls, the amount you pay for the county, and the amount you pay for the school district. This is discussions we've had with the legislature because we're capped. We collect X number of dollars more the next year, but those are all collected by the total valuation against the levy. Our levy has to go down. School districts don't. And so, for example, I think you saw District 91 paid off their bond 9 years early because they left the levy the same. So what your argument is, and it's valid, is if your value goes up like this, that drags it with it instead of their levy going down. District 93 this year, I understand, is saying we're going to keep the levy the same, even though the bond payment doesn't change. So they collect more than the bond payment. And then, like District 91, they pay it off early. But that's a budget thing.
Yeah.
You need to go to the budget hearings of the
Well,
county.
our daughter went to the school board hearing, and I understand that the city they're having an impact fee, and they're driving the price of our school up by $1 million just because they're charging the school the impact fee also.
Yeah, and we may or may not agree with that, but
I
see,
don't-
that's a driver of the market.
I understand that.
Any costs drive the market up because those developers are gonna have to increase the cost of the house. And the other things that increase the cost of the house are people who are getting out of California and they've sold theirs for way up here. The cost of living and housing was way down here.
Right.
So they could replace it with a better house and then have something to live on. But now we're losing that advantage because they're putting the prices of the house up. So the people like us that have been here for a long time, all you'd see is your values go up.
Right.
You get gauge
Well, I
some.
don't, you always feel good that your house is worth a lot, but not to be taxed to death.
Do you have an opinion of comparing your land value, your lot value to your home value? I mean, do you feel like the lot value is fairly?
Well, I don't know,
assessed, or-
the lot value on my lot is the most expensive on the list, even though 5 of them are bigger. Oh, there's one that's more expensive, I take it back. But there are 5 lots that are bigger than mine, 2 of them almost double the size of mine, and they're valued less. And that, again, that drives the price per square foot of their houses up to compare to mine.
I will say when we're factoring land, we actually use sales of like land, and it may be that, used Fairway as an example. In your area, there's a tremendous amount of growth right around you. So there's a tremendous amount of land sales of similar land, essentially in similar sizes. In an area like Fairway, you're really just dealing with the lots that are sold in Fairway. There's not a lot of land outside of that, aside from that in the subdivision. The other thing to keep in mind is that the land is the first thing that we set. So if we just kept the land value what it had been 10 years ago, ultimately your end result would be the same. It would just be that your improvement value on your home would increase to arrive at that market value. Your land value would be lower. Ultimately, the same end result would be there, and the land values are derived from current market. So surrounding area, and there are a lot of sales, and that's kind of what's driving that value.
I guess is where I'm going with this, is I kind of go back to my first thought is there's quite a spread, you know, in home sales this year. I mean, because the market is big and increasing fast, I think it causes a bigger spread in like sales. I don't really see where their like sales are any less of value than your like sales. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. It is challenging because
So it seems to me that, you know, I'm having a hard time weighing why yours are more accurate than his are from what I've seen. So it looks to me like we're going to have to be somewhere in the middle. I mean, that's my thoughts, and I didn't know if it was just on the land or on the home.
I will say the homes that we have on our list, we've been inside to verify the quality of the construction and the amenities and the bathroom count, bedroom count, things like that. And again, the quality of and certainly some of these comparables these provided do look similar, but
It's hard to know unless you're in.
I feel like you look at this one on Tennis Court Drive, and I feel like that's probably not a comparable home. And then when you get into the exterior of these homes, what may seem like you have a tremendous amount of amenities or features of the exterior, maybe the homeowner has gone to a lot of trouble to dress up the exterior, and then you get inside and it's really scaled down. You might see countertops, laminate flooring, things like that. So it's difficult, like I said, without seeing, you know, what the actual quality of the home is based on the pictures.
It's a good point.
Whereas
That's might
the
be
homes
why
that
yours
we've provided more, we have that inside there.
Well, again, I go back to this under 11. It's not comparable as far as I'm concerned.
Is that one that we have?
That's one of yours
It's
on.
not on this.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that
I
way
think
it's
we
took it
have,
off, but
again,
it's
the
on the
challenging
list.
thing that when we have, especially in a year like we had this year, when we have people essentially piling up when we're meeting with them, we are guilty of coming up with a spreadsheet in a couple of minutes, you know, a few minutes, and oftentimes there are some discrepancies or instances of homes that probably shouldn't have been included on that initial list that were in the interest of time, trying to provide it as quickly as we can. So certainly there's probably some of those that shouldn't have been. And again, I want to make sure that we're clear that we're not setting your value based on those sales on that spreadsheet. We're not setting your value based on these sales on this spreadsheet. We're essentially just trying to demonstrate some.
Okay.
But even so-
And then we probably need to kind of wrap it up. See, I looked at the comparables on this sheet, these are a lot more similar type of house, similar sales dates, similar years built, similar size, and then the average square
Well,
foot.
this home on Oakmont is still on there, and I told you, I don't think that should be on the list.
Right.
That drives the price up quite a ways just
It
because of
does.
that one.
If you throw out the high and the low on those, because I'm looking down at the average per square foot cost of $267.80 on comparables. The one I see is most similar to yours is the one on Stone Wall. Same neighborhood, everything, that was at $252. But if you take the Oakmont out at $296, it'll probably lower the average. But I don't think it's going to lower it down to where it's 400. It's your request 480,000 total when you have the land back. But if you did take that out, what's the average if you?
Yeah, and just working it.
Remind me again what your concern was with the Oakmont one, aside from the value of the sale price. What was your concern with the home aside from the sale price?
Well, this country club.
The Oakmont, yes, it's a walkout baseball shot under the golf course.
So when I take out the high and low, I can look at 264, 43.
Actually raises the average. It lowers it by $3.
Yeah, it lowers it by $3.40.
Which.
So that's their list, but my list, as far as I'm concerned, is actually more valid because it has homes closer to the same age, or about, well, actually it's about the same.
One negative to yours is that it doesn't account for the land fluctuation. It doesn't account for the land value being significantly different depending on where you are in the city or the county.
And it doesn't account for the condition of the home that they may have compared yours to, like an average, which is good. I mean, say there's another
Well,
level.
if that's the case, they've compared, my home right now is considered an average.
Condition. So
Average
quality,
condition.
quality and condition are two separate things. The quality would be essentially the quality of the home, how well the home is built.
And these are similar. I don't know what these are. You know, it's something, if we would uphold this value, that you could go back and do the research on. And the process of the state, see, that's where you go back and actually gather some hard data, using the same methodology they do here, and they can help you dig it up. And then run a comparison minus the land out. That's what makes yours difficult, is the land is included in the per square foot cost.
Right.
It looks very interesting, but until I know that conditions are the same, grades are the same, you know, it's hard to compare. This is, they've taken those, the way they assess uniform assessment, and gathered some in that same category.
Right, but
Very
they still,
tight on year built, very tight on square footage. And taking your argument, because I agree, Holiday Hills, I don't think is a good comp for this out there. But if you take that out, and the low was Pavero, and I know Pavero and Fairway Estates, it's not one of the nicer portions of Fairway Estates. But even if you took just the high out, what does that do to your average? Figure out.
yeah, we did.
That's around 260. Around 260. I didn't hear that.
261, so it drops the average to about 261, and yours is at 250 per square foot on that. So that's my thoughts.
So basically, you're the same as,
262.
it's the same as it was. They had 261 even before, so.
Yeah,
So what you're saying is that you're not gonna drop the value?
it would have helped if you'd done this analysis with the same type of homes without the land.
I did, but I don't have that information.
Right, and we have to base it on what the information is here. I don't know how these two are gonna go. I'm probably leaning towards upholding this. And if you do that, I think you've got enough instruction here that you could gather that, and you'd have an opportunity to be able to say,
But where do I find that information?
okay, we'll get you that, but they come here, so you don't have to travel. It's a hearing just like this. It's with the state tax commission and the board of tax appeals. And you can make that argument, and that's additional information if you prove your case based on facts and market value.
Where do we get that information? You spend hours on this, and we need to
Right
have
here.
somebody's on our side.
So our information is public record, and if we have,
What we've had in happen is, in the past is you give them these lists, they'll go through and do a printout like this showing condition, taking the land out and coming up with analysis that way.
But what I see, when you do take the land out, every piece of property on here is valued less than ours, even though it's much bigger.
Oh, but that's what they're trying to find. See, because these sales are lower, but maybe the land is lower, they're trying to find out the cost of the improvement. Because that's what's driven by building costs.
Well, I built my house for $160,000.
And I got one little talk.
I paid $20,000 for the property.
And that unfortunately is the market we're in, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense to me when you said you've been in these homes that you could use them as comparables, you know the condition. And without knowing the interior condition of these other ones, I make a motion that we uphold the appraisal from our assessor.
Looking at the neighborhoods that the comparables are in, and I personally I think that's really important. Some of the stuff in the front of Stone Brook compared to the stuff across the street and across Sunnyside in Cedar Ridge. Different neighborhoods. And looking at a number of different neighborhoods. I just think that's, people shop neighborhoods and they pay more for the neighborhood they want to be in. And so it really confuses the software, I think. That, and I think this is a volatile market, and I think in the next year things are going to start to even out, and I would expect some valuations go the other direction. I think that would probably make everyone happy. So mine went up a bunch too. And so I think I need more information to go against what the assessor and his crew have done. And without that, as the chair said, we have to judge based on what we see presented here and not what we know from the outside. So that's that motion.
Okay, all in favor? So with this, we'll uphold it, we'll give you a form that you can appeal, and I would encourage you to take what you've heard here, go back and get comparable type sales. They'll run these analysis spreadsheets for you. That's the assessor's office.
And even if you just wanted to know, like if we had been in this, we would know the rate of condition of the land value, that's also.
Part of the challenge here is that the limited time, the tax analysis go out on the law, so as code says, you have to send it out, and you have to come in and protest it, and in a short period of time before we have to conclude the hearing. So we don't have time to do a tremendous amount of research, and this is really complicated. I didn't get mine because we changed addresses and they got shoulder fees in land. So I got mine the day that you have to protest. So I truly understand, and it's like the chair said, they've come here, so you don't have to go. We've got another hearing.
Well, I guess,
And I'm gonna come watch those, that's it.
yeah,
So.
I'm not gonna waste any more time on it, to be truthful.
Where's the time?
Well, I'd like to be satisfied.
Well, I'm not satisfied, but I've spent enough time on it, and the money's not worth it, that I'll save is not worth it to me. I was hoping that you would, even just looking at this assessment notice and seeing that I'm paying over almost $200,000 or $2,000 more in taxes. And if everybody's doing, that's almost a 40% increase in my taxes. If everybody pays that, then I think you're gonna have a revolt. But I think that you're just picking on me.
They don't.
It's not a tax increase, that's a value increase.
Well, no, that is a tax increase.
Oh, it is.
It's a tax increase. The value's increased by almost 200,000, but my taxes have increased by 2,000. That's almost a 40% increase.
You mentioned that you saw on a website that your taxes increased. What website did you find that information?
The estimator.
That's using the last.
What's that?
That's using the last.
I did. So all I'm saying is that it doesn't pass the smart test to me, to think that everybody's taxes are gonna go up that much.
It's the cumulative, and some categories will go down, like, because of the increased valuation here disproportionately, and ag price, I do have some dry farm, ag stays relatively flat. There's gonna be a shift to the homeowners off of the ag and off of commercial. We're working with the legislature.
But I still can't believe it's that much. I mean, if everybody's paying almost
I don't
double
know,
in
this
taxes.
is the software used last year's levy.
Well, we're
Yeah,
bound
that's
to
a state tool, so we actually don't.
State told
Well, we're bound to
Because
the
how can
state.
we use this year's levy when we haven't established
Okay,
it?
let's wrap this up. what we're bound to look at is, would this house sell for that amount in this market? And I think based on the sales it would. That's the bottom line.
You've done a really thorough job here.
Yeah.
You've done a great job with research and presenting it. I think it'd be a great case if you would choose to take to appeal. And I want you to know that they're not against you.
I understand.
They will absolutely get you every bit of information to
Well,
help
I've
you
spent-
with your appeal.
I spent a week on it, about every day, getting this information. And it's not worth it to me to spend any more time on this.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
You want to stop the recording? We'll do a separate one, so we hear the transcript.